This part of the railway series takes us to Hungary. Various trains, old and young, are available to us to explore this fascinating country. Although Hungary has turned from a communist satellite state into a Western-oriented democracy, the country still continues a tradition of hospitality. Hungary by train has much to offer. The rail leads us to all sorts of regions where one can fully enjoy the special Hungarian culture. We start our journey in Budapest, the capital of Hungary. This city is sometimes compared to Paris, since a river divides the city into two parts. As Paris is on the Seine, so Budapest came into existence on the banks of the Danube. The city is situated in the north, where the mountains meet the great plain of Hungary. Budapest has existed in its present form only since 1872. Prior to this, the eastern hilly part was called Buda, and the western lower part, Pest. The history of these parts goes back to Roman times. Because of the centuries-old history, Budapest has many architectural objects of interest. The chain bridge that joins both parts of the city is a wonderful example of this, as is also the Parliament building. The Heroes' Square with the Archangel Gabriel high on a pedestal and the unknown soldier remind us of the many turbulent times during the 1,000 years of Hungarian history. The Andrassy Street, a boulevard 2.5 kilometers long, was built when the World Exposition took place in Hungary. The Erkel Theatre, an opera building, also dates from that period. There one finds a station stop for the second oldest subway in Europe, built in 1896. The underground network still functions well, and tens of thousands of Budapest residents make use of it daily. The Hungarians have a rich social life. Budapest is full of coffee houses and sidewalk cafes. Since westernization at the end of the 80s, a number of shops has also increased considerably, certainly in Pest, where Budapest has acquired the characteristics of a world city. Most noteworthy in the Hungarian towns are the monumental bathhouses, seen almost nowhere else in Europe. They're reminders of Turkish and Roman influences in Hungary. The Gellert, for example, remains exactly the same as when it was built. The centuries-old interior is completely preserved. Perhaps because of the classical atmosphere, it attracts older inhabitants of Budapest who come here to swim their laps. Outside, there's also one of the oldest wave pools in existence, also built in connection with the World Exposition at the end of the last century. In today's Hungary, bathhouses also have an important social function. Young and old spend many an hour of their leisure time relaxing together. If Pest is the modern part of Budapest, then Buda conveys a nostalgic atmosphere with something of its ancient glory. The streets are narrow, and there's a serious air to the buildings. For the first leg of our journey in Hungary, we take a very special train of a very special railway company. It is the Kinderbahn, the Children's Railway, which nevertheless is part of the Hungarian State Railways. The Children's Railway was started in 1948, along the lines of similar railways found in the Soviet republics. It is a notable object of curiosity, of an almost folkloristic nature, which the Hungarians do their best to preserve. The line takes you from Széchenyi Hill through mountainous country and is about 11.5 kilometers long. The train goes over it at about 20 kilometers per hour. For day tourists, this makes it an enjoyable trip for an afternoon's outing. The Children's Railway offers an interesting challenge for about 40 children. On weekdays, there are somewhat fewer of them. These duties are taken seriously. The children are given a 4-month training course before they're ready for the operational part. On an average, 3 out of every 10 children later find employment with the regular railways. But rest assured, there are also experienced engineers on the Kinderbahn locomotive. The Children's Railway route is a narrow gauge of 760 millimeters. Building it was quite a job because the railway had to cross the highest point of Budapest. Apart from a regular train with open carriages, the Children's Railway also keeps a nostalgic train on the rails. It was built in 1928 and was recently thoroughly restored. The train was given a bright pinkish color, especially to attract tourists. It's quite an experience to see dozens of children handle a model railway of giant proportions, which regular passengers also make use of. It evidently meets a need, for the train operates daily and still covers its expenses. This undoubtedly also results from low personnel costs. Anyway, the Kinderbahn is an amusing introduction to Hungary along the rails. But now it's time for the more serious rail work. We head for the central station of Budapest. A simple Swiss-made cog railway takes us from the Children's Railway back to the heart of the city. In this part of the series, Budapest is the point of departure for more journeys we are to make in Hungary. Our first destination is to be the little town of Eger in the east. We leave from the Nieuwegate station, the departure point for all eastbound trains. Budapest has a separate station hall for each direction. The Hungarian Railway, which has been in existence for over 150 years, has modernized its infrastructure since 1968. They now have reasonably modern rolling stock, certainly by East European standards. This flat part of Hungary looks strikingly West European. The barren quality to the great and small lowlands came about during Turkish rule in the 16th and 17th century. Large sections of Hungary were deforested wholesale, and erosion took a free hand. Hungary has made little effort to reverse this, but necessity is the mother of invention. Almost 3/4 of the country is now being used for agriculture and animal husbandry. When we arrive in Eger, it becomes clear that most passengers on the train were tourists. Eger, with its history of over 1,000 years, is a major attraction for sightseers. It was established at the beginning of the First Hungarian Kingdom. After this, it was completely destroyed and rebuilt in Baroque style. Even though the Turkish, the Austrians, and the Russians have ruled here, a large number of these characteristic buildings have been preserved, among which is a fortress that Eger used to defend itself against the intruding Turkish soldiers. Focal point in the town center is the Mennonite church. Like the fortress, it is a reminder of the struggle of the Hungarian kingdom against the Turkish military forces. The carefully preserved building dates from the period 1758 to 1778. Eger's town hall was built in 1900, right up against the church, in a mixture of styles. When the Mennonite church was almost completed, a start was made with the building of the grammar school. This is one of the finest buildings in Eger. Today it is used as a teacher training college. Eger is a town with over 60,000 inhabitants. It has over 170 monuments. Most of these are in the old center and can be seen during a day-long tour. Especially conspicuous, even for its yellowish color, is the Franciscaner Church, again built in Baroque style and dated the middle of the 18th century. The most notable reminder of Turkish rule is the 40-meter-high minaret. It is the only Turkish building that was not completely destroyed when the Austrians were in power. Eger was built in a lovely valley on the border between two mountain ranges. In the region around this valley are the farms where the famous Lippenzahner horses are bred. These stud farms were started in the 16th century. The two oldest breeds of Lippenzahner still in existence are about 200 years old. What makes Eger really famous in Europe are the vineyards where the grapes are grown that give a characteristic flavor to the Hungarian wine with the interesting name Bull's Blood. Wine is one of the most important export products. 3 types of grapes are used in it: the Hungarian Kadarka grape, a Burgundy, and a Medoc variety. The dark red drink is produced in many flavors and is matured over varying periods. This makes them popular in many restaurants. This has also to do with the price, noticeably lower than comparable wines from France or Germany. Our second journey takes us westward, from Budapest to Castelli. This little town is situated on Lake Balaton, called the Sweet Sea by Hungarians. Lake Balaton is more than 77 kilometers long and about 14 kilometers wide in some places. On the one side it is fed by the river Zala, and on the other side by the crystal-clear mountain streams from the Dolomites. The excess water is discharged through a canal. This water is of superb quality and makes the lake a favorite with tourists. Castelli is the oldest of the many beautiful spots around Lake Balaton. Its history goes back to Roman times. It was supposedly from this period that the water of Lake Balaton was discovered to have healing powers. While in town, a visit to Festetics Castle is a must. It lies in an oasis of peace, surrounded by a classic English garden. The castle, almost 250 years old, was restored in minute detail, inside and outside. Noteworthy is the fact that the castle can be visited throughout the year at no cost. You won't find that in other European countries. In this case, Hungary does not comply with Western customs and sticks to the East European principle of displaying art and culture free of charge. The castle is also used as an international conference center. But many visitors to Castelli are not only interested in the splendid castle, they also spend time in the town because of the cozy atmosphere, pleasant outdoor cafes, and recreational facilities. A few kilometers away is situated the little village of Heviz. It is surrounded by pleasant bathhouses and a lake rich with minerals and a pleasant warm layer of mud. This mud makes the water mildly radioactive and is recommended by doctors for easing metabolism problems and painful joints and muscles. The lake is in fact the largest hot spring in Europe. Because of the special composition of the water, it is advised not to stay in it for more than an hour at a time. Castelli, a pleasant surprise awaits us, an introduction to the nostalgic train of 1900. The steam locomotive, built in Budapest, is being kept by the Hungarian Railway as historic property that was made available for use in 1987. The train travels back and forth between Lake Balaton and the historic village of Balaton. This short line received the poetic name Train of 100 Years. This does not refer to the locomotive as much as to the connected carriages. All of these are at least a century old, with a variety of styles that were in fashion at the time of the Hungarian monarchy. The four carriages for passengers offer seating to 160 persons. An accordion player ensures that the journey will be as pleasant as possible. The more passengers traveling on the train of 100 years old, the more money will be available to maintain locomotive number 204 for much of the coming century. When this locomotive was built at the beginning of this century, it was given the qualification Speed Train number 204. The locomotive, which has air brakes, can go about 90 kilometers per hour by itself, though with the carriages the maximum speed reached is 60 kilometers. Our ride is a pleasant conclusion to a rail exploration of a country that offers a particular cultural beauty. Seeing Hungary by train is worthwhile and fascinating experience. Next time on Railway, we'll be in Ecuador, a country rich in Indian tradition, and one of the few places on Earth where most passengers sit on top of the train.